What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the late night live stream, week 6 edition. Joey, feels good to be back in our usual time slot, late at night, chilling, right? The moon is out, the thoughts are flowing, and we're getting close to what I think is a very exciting slate.
The stars are shining. The stars are aligning for us to bank something in week 6.
Yeah.
Okay. But this is a pretty interesting slate. I think it's one of the more I don't want to say easy or easier slates that we've had this season, but I think the cash game lineup specifically builds itself this week. I think there's one clear construction that everybody should be playing. And then in tournaments, we have just, an interesting discussion just about whether or not, you go heavy on that Bills Chiefs game or, targeting other games and whatnot. So it's going to be an interesting slate all around, and I'm excited to dive into it.
Absolutely, man. Shout out to everybody who's tuned in. We answer any and all questions, whether it be about DFS, season long, anything you got. So, feel free to comment at any point in the stream. If you're watching on replay, drop a like, sub to the channel. We're getting close to 500 subs. What is up, Mr. Torian? Regular viewer, the homie. All right, Joey, let's talk about quarterbacks first. All right. And for cash games, like you said, I mean, the thing about this cash build is that like 6 out of the 9 spots are locks, which doesn't happen very often. So chalk week again. Josh in the chat says it's definitely chalk week. And at quarterback, it's Josh Allen, 8,200.
What's up, Josh? What's up, Al?
What up, Al?
Shout out to all the homies watching. Probably get some more in here in a few. But yeah, quarterback this week, it's a relatively shallow pool, I would say, especially for cash. In my cash game video, which came out earlier today, I only talked about Josh Allen. And I don't even think like we need to spend that much time on cash games.
No.
Because at the quarterback position, you're playing Josh Allen. Period. Yeah. That's it. There's no other player you should be considering. He has a base projection of over 30 points right now, which, in my opinion, is the highest that I've ever seen.
I've never seen a base projection for a quarterback at 30.
Like, that's 95% of quarterback ceiling projections is 30 points, and that's his base projection this week on the road in Kansas City. What is it? 54 total. Every touchdown goes through Josh Allen. I mean, the Bills have been on the main slate, I think, like every week besides week 1, and we've played Josh Allen every week, and he's scored 30 plus DraftKings points in pretty much every game, as you can see on the screen. So if you're not playing Josh Allen in cash, it's bad process. Are you fine with playing Josh Allen in tournaments is the question.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that my pool in quarterbacks is going to be extremely tight, and Josh Allen will surely be a piece because I think that there's ways you can go with your Bills stacks that will get you differentiated enough that you can, not play super contrarian at quarterback. But, like you said, we don't need to spend too much time on cash. The thing that's most interesting to me right now is that the other half of this game, right? The Chiefs side of this game doesn't look like it's going to be stacked up that much. And that's really exciting to me. Early in the week when we've recorded the podcast, I kind of thought that both sides of this game were going to be stone chalk, but we're getting Patrick Mahomes outside the top 5 in terms of quarterback ownership. And Travis Kelce is going to be lower owned than I expected. I mean, I'm really excited to stack up this Chiefs side of the ball with a massive ownership discount off the Bills stuff.
Yeah, I just think that, Josh Allen is just going to project extremely better than Patrick Mahomes at the top end. And then you have guys like Tom Brady, Geno Smith at the bottom or the mid-range, I should say, of the quarterback pool that are projecting pretty well as it stands right now. Obviously, the concern with the Chiefs stack in general is people really don't know who to stack with Patrick Mahomes besides Travis Kelce. But stacking Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes is 15.8K. So you're kind of really restricting yourself in terms of salary if you're running that stack. And then, you combine that with the fact of what receiver do you play? I mean, we talked about it on the pod. The Chiefs are probably the least talented at wide receiver than they have been in recent years.
Yeah.
These guys are just, just a guy. They're just your average NFL wide receivers, and really nobody knows who to play with Patrick Mahomes besides Kelsey.
Yeah, no, that's totally true, and I think that provides a pretty good opportunity in tournaments, right? Because these guys aren't going to come in with a ton of ownership no matter what, because nobody knows who to play, nobody's confident in their Chiefs options. So you can play Travis Kelsey, who's the obvious stack piece, right? And he's going to come in under 10% owned this week, which I think is crazy. We've talked about how Travis Kelsey has scored 6 touchdowns over his last 4 matchups against the Bills. He's a slot beater, and the Bills play or I'm sorry, he's a zone beater, and the Bills play zone defense at one of the highest rates in the league. So, I mean, this sets up once again for Kelsey to have a great week at low ownership. I think you could single stack Mahomes with Kelsey and overload on the Bills side of the ball, or you can, play with the Bills, double or triples, and bring it back with Kelsey and a cheap Chiefs receiver. Sky Moore, 3,500, 3,600, one of the two. I'm going to have him at 1% owned.
Yeah, but nonetheless, Patrick Mahomes seems like a good pivot in that game. Obviously, Josh Allen is just so much better from a projection standpoint that a lot of people are just going to be like, let me find the 200 to get up to Josh Allen. Are there any other quarterbacks that interest you in tournaments besides Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes?
I have a really hard time seeing any of these other players being able to beat them. Maybe on a points per dollar basis, you could talk yourself into some Geno double stacks. I mean, Lockett is going to be stone cold chalk at wide receiver. Metcalf will have some ownership, but I don't think too many people are playing Geno doubles. I think that's slightly interesting, but just the chances of that game going as nuclear as this Bills Chiefs game, I don't know, man. I really want to be overweight on that Bills Chiefs game. So I think that for the most part, I'll probably stick to stacks of that game and maybe on early only, which I do plan to play this week. I'll have some Lamar stuff and some Tom Brady stuff.
Yeah, Mr. Torian brings up a good point. Brady is facing Pittsburgh secondary that's missing 3 of their starting cornerbacks and Minkah Fitzpatrick and TJ Watt. It's obviously a very good spot for TB12 and his pass catchers, and Chris Godwin is looking like he's going to be very chalky. And as we see in this game log over the last 3 weeks, they have kind of trended more back to how they played last year in terms of passing at one of the highest rates over expectations. At 6,300, I definitely like Brady double stacks, and I do think that Kenny Pickett can at least potentially keep the game like kind of close, like within 10 to 17 points. That's what I say when I mean close. It's not going to be like the Chiefs upset here, but Brady doubles look very, very good this week, and he's only 6,300. But it's really, yeah. I mean, if you're
that's
not
that's just a spoiler for when we get to wide receiver, but that was taken at a press conference earlier this week, man. I mean,
if you're not playing Chris Godwin, I was going to bring that up when we talked about Chris Godwin. If you're not playing Chris Godwin this week, you're chopped.
Yeah, it's for sure going to be a big Godwin week. I can't wait.
Yeah, but Brady looks good. You said Geno is going to be a little chalky. Other than that, there's really not much that I like.
It's Lamar to me is the one that we have to play, just because the ownership of Lamar is not going to be out of control this week. Mark Andrews is projecting out of this world, and any quarterback that realistically has 40 points in their range at low ownership, I think is really solid in tournaments. So yeah, very clear stacking partner in Andrews. You could play Duvernay this week, who had 10 opportunities with no Rashad Bateman. Bateman will miss this game again as well. So you got 2 clear stacking partners with Lamar and a clear bring back as well, which we'll get to at wide receiver. But.
Yep. So at quarterback, I mean, most of my exposure is just going to be to Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and then maybe some Brady and some Lamar. Other than that, I really have no interest in any other quarterback, to be honest.
Yes. All right.
I think quarterback is not the place to get different.
No. Is it wide receiver?
Potentially.
We'll get to that shortly. Let's talk about running back though. And running back is the most interesting position this week. A lot of stuff has changed since we last talked on Wednesday evening. Joey, let's talk about the big news, which I think is this Cam Akers situation. This sort of came out of nowhere. He missed practice earlier in the week for a personal reason. And then Sean McVay later came out and said that he wouldn't play on Sunday due to, personal reasons. And they're trying to work things out with him. Not really sure what all this is about. I'm sure we'll get information on it sooner rather than later. But for the time being, we have the Rams as 10-point home favorites against a Carolina Panthers team that's in pure shambles. They fired their head coach earlier this week. They're shopping their major pieces. Christian McCaffrey on the trade block, DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson on the trade block. Like, this team is about to go in full-blown tank mode. And we saw Darrell Henderson have a really strong role at times without Cam Akers last year. I think that we can trust the pass game role. 9 targets over the past 2 weeks. The game script is heavily favorable for Henderson, and the price is great. So I think that he immediately enters the conversation as one of the best plays on the board at running back in what was already a very strong week in terms of running back value. But I mean, Darrell Henderson, this is a new piece of information for us to digest.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously didn't talk about this on the Wednesday pod, so we obviously were going to talk about this on the Saturday on this live stream. And at 5,100, I think he's probably in my cash game lineup over Kenneth Walker, who's 300 more. When we get a full workload out of Darrell Henderson, you could pretty much pencil him in for 14 to 16 DraftKings points.
Yeah,
off of full workload. Carolina is the 5th worst run defense in the NFL. They're ranked 27th in rushing yards allowed per game, 137.8. Obviously, there's concerns with the Rams offense in general and how inefficient they've been to start the season. And they haven't been putting up a ton of points, but nonetheless, with Cam Akers, it's all Darrell Henderson. But they did go out and sign Malcolm Brown, who does have familiarity with Sean McVay and this Rams organization and the scheme. And I think that he will play some, but Darrell Henderson's role should still be very, very good. And he would be the RB3 for me on this week in terms of cash.
Yep, 15 or more DraftKings points in 6 out of the first 7 games last year when Darrell Henderson had a full role before Sony Michel started eating into things. And I just can't imagine that getting Malcolm Brown off the street is going to make a huge difference to the offensive game plan here. So I think that Henderson, especially the pass game role, solidifies him for me above Kenneth Walker in terms of cash. But there are still 2 running backs, 3 running backs, including Walker, that I think are highly in play, and they're all interesting. Let's talk about Ramondre, though, because he's sort of, I think, the clear-cut consensus number 1 play at the position, your boy Ramondre Stevenson. But again, there is still a little bit of intrigue with this story, as Damian Harris did not get ruled out officially today with the Patriots' final injury report. Nelson Aguilar got ruled out. Jonathan Jones got ruled out. Damian Harris still questionable and did get a limited practice in, despite the hamstring injuries and the early week reports that he would miss several weeks. So, I mean, this will be something we'll get before 1 p.m. So we'll know at 11:30 a.m. tomorrow, prior to lock, what the Ramondre Stevenson situation is. But, let's say Damian Harris is active. Are you downgrading Stevenson? Like, would you take him out of your cash pool in favor of the other 3 backs?
No, absolutely not.
Even with Damian Harris, you're playing Ramondre Stevenson in cash 6K.
I mean, if you're not playing Ramondre Stevenson in cash, like, there you go.
Love it.
I mean, even if Damian Harris somehow is active in this spot, I still think it's a Ramondre Stevenson, centric game plan. Due to Damian Harris's injury. He'll probably play limited snaps, even if he does play. I would expect him to get ruled out. But nonetheless, at 6K, we're getting Ramondre Stevenson in a full, voluminous running back role, 3 down upside, pass catching upside, touchdown upside, and a good matchup against the Cleveland Browns, who are the fourth worst team against opposing running backs, giving up 138.2 yards per game. Or they rank 28, so they would be the fifth worst.
Yep. Third most rushing touchdowns allowed to RBs.
This is just a explosion spot for Ramondre Stevenson. And I think no matter if Damian Harris is ruled in, like, he's still going to be chalk tomorrow.
I mean, Damian Harris, if he does get ruled in, I think would be the cleanest run out ever for playing Ramondre in tournaments, because I think the ownership would come down.
No, it won't. It's too late in the week. It'd be an 11:30 inactive, and most of the people have already built Ramondre into their lineups. His ownership in tournaments 100% would not go down because Damian Harris is active. I will promise you that.
You don't think so? Because we got the Hendo news early. We've had the Walker news all week. We got the Eno news early, and then we even got, the Deion Jackson news today. So it's like there are plenty of other places people can go. Ramondre isn't like, you don't have to play him for salary the same way that we did early in the week, but I still think that he is the clear-cut number one running back play. I don't want to get that misconstrued, but so ownership is locked in your opinion.
I mean, 100% locked in, because a lot of people just aren't, you mentioned early news that gives people time to react and adjust. People aren't reacting to late news ever. They aren't reacting to, 11:30 inactives or 11:30 actives.
I guess what I should say is that I think it's different for smaller field, high buy-in stuff, like the people that are grinding. Like, you're right, I don't think it impacts his Millie Maker ownership, but I think that it could be the difference between Ramondre being 45% and 30% in, like, the small field $100 spy type stuff, because those people are grinding.
I disagree, but either way, he's still a very good play. And projections love Ramondre Stevenson. He's like the best value on the entire slate across multiple projection sites that I'm looking at right now.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'll play Ramondre everywhere. I don't want to get that misconstrued.
Yeah,
I love him.
And then the final, or I shouldn't say final, the second to last running back play for cash games is Eno Benjamin this week. Yeah, at 4,600. James Conner out due to a rib injury. Darrell Williams was ruled out earlier in the week due to an ankle injury. So Eno Benjamin in this game, that is the second highest total game on the slate, one of the most popular game stacks besides the Bills-Chiefs game on this week's 6 slate. He's just projecting very, very well, and I think we'll probably see 15 touches out of Eno Benjamin with a ton of pass game work. And at 4,600, I mean, you're just locking them in, and you're moving on. You're locking in Ramondre and Eno Benjamin in cash, and you're going to the next spot.
Yep, and that'll be the debate, I think, between Darrell Henderson and Kenneth Walker. It seems like we're both on Team Henderson. Let's talk about Walker, though, because if it weren't for this Henderson news, I think he would have been, consensus locked into all of our cash lineups, and he'll still be very chalky this week. So a player that needs to be discussed as well. No Rashad Penny, no Travis Homer. It will be Kenneth Walker and DJ Dallas. I think what separates him from the other 3 running backs that we've discussed is his pass game role is the most fragile, in my opinion. DJ Dallas ran a route on nearly every snap that he played. It's clear that the team views DJ Dallas as the pass catching back. Kenneth Walker never really did that in college. He may be able to do it. There were reports this offseason that the Seahawks liked what he did as a pass catcher, but we haven't seen it. And I don't think that we have those same concerns surrounding Ramondre, Eno, or Darrell Henderson, which makes Kenneth Walker, to me, the odd man out in 3 running back cash game builds this week.
Yeah, it obviously sucks because you have no prior film or anything to look back onto to see how well he plays in the passing game, right? You mentioned he didn't play much in the passing game at Michigan State, but nonetheless, like, colleges just don't use their running backs in the passing game.
Right.
I don't know why that is. I I think a lot of colleges just should do it more, but they don't. And I don't really want to knock him and say like he can't play in the passing game because I think he can. And I mean, I've said it a bunch. Like a running back can run a little 3-yard flat route and catch the ball.
Yeah.
Anybody can. It's not hard. But he is the most fragile. He is priced up above Darrell Henderson and Eno Benjamin. So he would be slightly behind Darrell Henderson for me in my rankings, and I would rank it Ramondre 1, Eno Benjamin 2, Darrell Henderson 3, and Kenneth Walker 4. Just slightly behind.
Yeah. I believe that we are in agreement as to the way that we see these top 4 running backs. The chat is talking about some other plays in Breece Hall, J.K. Dobbins. But before we get to that, I want to talk about how you're handling these highly chalky running backs in tournaments, because I think it's nuanced. I don't want to just say you full fade. This is different than other weeks where I think that the chalky running backs were even priced a little bit higher, like, 6'9" Fournette, or 6'1" Barkley in week 1, or 6K Jamal. Like, there were reasons to talk ourselves out of it, but at these cheap price tags and what it allows you to do in terms of the rest of your lineup, it's tough to just say that it's good to full fade these guys. So how are you planning to go about these specific highly chalky running backs in tournaments, especially Ramondre and Eno Benjamin, who are projecting to be 35+%?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you have to be price conscious and ownership conscious about how you're building your lineups. And I think it's just more so a lineup construction point, right? Like if you're playing into the chalk at the running back position, you're probably going to want to get different with your stacks, right? You're probably not going to want to stack the Bills up and play Ramondre and Eno Benjamin. And then you can also play it like, eating into the chalk early with Ramondre. And if he busts, that gives you information about whether or not you can get off Eno Benjamin or Darrell Henderson, or you can go contrarian at running back early, maybe play, I don't know, just an example, Breece or J.K. Dobbins. They smash, you could pivot onto Eno Benjamin and maybe switch your lineup. And this is just a clear late swap week.
Yeah.
This is a week where you should be late swapping. You should be building it in to your lineups, especially in tournaments. Obviously not in cash, but into your tournaments for sure, 100%. And it's all about lineup construction, right?
Yeah.
If you're getting chalky later, I'd go contrarian early at the running back position. If you're getting different later, I'd go chalky at the running back position. Just depends on your stack, to be honest.
Yeah, but these plays are just so far ahead of the rest due to the, late in the week nature they came out, and the prices not being, equal to the opportunity that these players will have, that like just getting off of them makes no sense. Like, you have to play some of these guys in tournaments. Now, I think it's nuanced. For example, Darrell Henderson is a player that I would be fine fading. Like, I don't think that he has the same ceiling that Ramondre has. And I don't think that he can kill you. I know that the price isn't, too extreme. It's only 500 difference between him and Eno, but I think that makes a big enough difference in terms of what they're doing points per dollar and what they're allowing you to fit. Like Darrell Henderson, I said that he had, that streak of games of 15+, but he never had a 30-point game last year, and his role was better. The offense was better. Henderson's just a high floor play, but I don't think that he has the ceiling in his range to kill you in this current Rams offense. So he is one that I would feel comfortable fading at 25% ownership. Ramondre Stevenson, on the other hand, I think can drop 30, 35 and kill you if you don't have him, which makes me more inclined to figure out ways to play him in cumulative ownership consistency that makes sense.
Yeah, no, definitely well said. I do agree Darrell Henderson is probably the chalky running back fade, and Kenneth Walker.
Yeah.
Just because I do think there is fragility to both of those guys and their roles, especially, we talked about Kenneth Walker, his potential role in the passing game, and that could be fragile. And Darrell Henderson just has really never shown the ceiling. Even in regular like PPR, he's never had a game with 25+ fantasy points in regular PPR. He's just not a guy that is going to kill you, to be honest, if you fade him. If he gets you 15 at 5,100, obviously you'll take it, but you can survive that in GPPs, right?
You would probably be happy not to have it. You would probably be happy with the process of playing a Brees Hall for 700 more if
Yeah.
Darrell Henderson finishes with between like 15 and 18, which, let's be honest, is his most, reasonable expectation.
Yeah, 14. Yeah, I would say 14 to 16
Mm-hmm.
personally.
Yep.
So yeah, I would fade Darrell Henderson and Kenneth Walker in tournaments and play Ramondre and Eno Benjamin, and just obviously take into consideration the ownership of your lineup and the stacks that you're playing, and just considering building in that optionality for the 4 o'clock games, which all of the chalk is going to be in 4 o'clock. So maybe, you get different early, eat the chalk at the running back position later, et cetera, et cetera. Who's your favorite tournament running back play, though? We've talked enough about these cheap, chalky options. Who's
Yeah.
winning somebody a milli that's not in this lineup right now?
I've got kind of a low key hot take. I don't know. Do you want to hear it? It might leave a sour taste in the public's mouth, but I want to shout it out
What's the hot
nonetheless.
take?
Devin Singletary at 5,900, sub 5% ownership. And I talked about him a lot last week. It didn't hit, obviously, but I refuse to believe, Joey, that Devin Singletary doesn't have a 30 plus point game somewhere in his range of outcomes. This is a player who has had the ability, as we saw this year, to get 11 targets in a close competitive game. He is a player that we saw down the stretch last year have 2 touchdown plus games multiple times in a row. Okay. There is a world where at one point in history, maybe only once in his career, it happens where these two things align, the pass game role and the touchdowns. We know that, we kind of touched on this last week, that we thought maybe the fragility to Singletary, which is what took him out of cash play, was that in blowout games, which last week profiled to be, they mix in the other running backs, and we saw that happen. But in these close competitive games, Devin Singletary has a stranglehold on the backfield. The Bills just go to the guys they trust. This should be a close competitive game on the road, one of the hardest environments to play in Arrowhead. That this is like a matchup of two giants in the league. I think they lean on their guy Singletary here. And he's good leverage in lineups that you're not playing Josh Allen in. So I don't know. It's probably not going to happen. Singletary's just a guy whose ceiling is so hard to trust. But, if he gets a touchdown and he gets some pass game role, nobody's going to play him sub 5%. I would be interested in going to Devin Singletary as a piece of tournament stacks without Josh Allen.
Yeah, I mean, everything you said makes sense, but I'm not playing him. So
I know.
I'm not playing Devin Singletary. I'd rather just eat the chalk for 100 more with Ramondre. Just because in a game like this, Josh Allen, everything's running through him. They're not handing the ball off at the 1 yard line to Devin Singletary. There's a lot of emotion in this game, coming off that brutal divisional loss, OT. They want this win. They want their revenge. Everything's going through Josh Allen. Devin Singletary is not getting there. But what if he hits, the nuts,
He might be able to. I mean, what did Josh Jacobs just do to them? Have like almost 200 yards on the ground? Like,
yeah, I mean,
come on.
Josh Jacobs has had kind of a resurgence. I will give him credit.
Yeah, he's on fire. He's on fire.
He's on fire.
But yeah, okay. So Singletary's like a long shot guy that I would take just as strictly like a theory play for leverage off of the high owned Bills guys and to get exposure to that game. Aaron Jones I like in a spot here for Green Bay at home against the Jets. Nobody's going to pay up at running back, period. Like if there's any of these high price guys that you like, you can get them at really good prices. But I talked about how Aaron Jones is a guy that scores touchdowns in bunches, and this seems like a really good spot. The Packers need to bounce back after getting dusted by the Giants in London last week. Aaron Jones separated a little bit from AJ Dillon after pretty much splitting with him to start the year, he ended up taking a bigger share of the workload last week. Maybe that continues as the Packers, sense a little bit of pressure to get a win here against a beatable Jets team. So Aaron Jones, to me, always a high ceiling play. And, I like him this week quite a bit at very low ownership too.
Yeah, I was gonna say Aaron Jones in tournaments. Home favored running back. It's a very good spot going up against this Jets defense, kind of middle of the pack in terms of rushing yards allowed. But you mentioned it. He kind of made AJ Dillon take a back seat last week. AJ Dillon only played on 32% of the snaps. Aaron Jones played on 73% of the snaps. Now, is that a 1-game sample size? Potentially. Do they probably end up going back to like a 65, 35, or probably higher than that, like 60, 50? They're both playing 50%. Probably. But
Jones can get there off of red zone efficiency and general efficiency. Yeah, for sure. Christian Watson. Targets are a little consolidated.
It's such a good spot for Aaron Jones, and he's going to be 1% owned. The definition of a tournament running back play. Other than that, I think some of these guys at the top are projecting relatively okay as it stands right now. Leonard Fournette in another potential positive game script. I mean, 24 touches last week against Atlanta, 11 targets. Like, Leonard Fournette has maybe the most pass catching upside out of any running back when this Bucs offense is firing on all cylinders as it stands right now. Maybe that's a hot take. But you're not seeing a lot of running backs, especially this year, getting the 7-11 target upside.
Yeah.
So that's obviously in the range with Fournette. He's projecting really good as it stands right now. Joe Mixon at 6,900 just has been a total touch monster, and he's projecting pretty good in a spot where they could be without T. Higgins. I think he's more doubtful than questionable. Hayden Hurst is also dealing with an injury, so the touches in this game could be consolidated to Jamar Chase and Joe Mixon. And at 6,900, I mean, tied for his cheapest price tag of the year, I don't hate it.
No, I don't hate it as well. Mixon is definitely a solid play this week. It's just, to me, like the Bengals right now, something about their offense just seems really broken. I actually really like the Saints D this week. They have a pretty decent defensive line, and at home, I think they're going to be able to get a lot of pressure on Joe Burrow behind, one of the worst offensive lines in the league. So probably more inclined to just, only play Jamar Chase or Saints D from that game and not really fuck around with Mixon or Higgins or any of that stuff. But I get why you would like it. Kamara for sure. Kamara went nuclear last week, and he's a touchdown away from breaking slates. So
yeah, I will say that paying up to running back this week seems like a good leverage build, just because a majority of tournament lineups are going to be builds of cheap running backs. So if you just want to play into, only playing one of those cheap guys and maybe paying up to an Aaron Jones or Leonard Fournette or Joe Mixon, I think that looks extremely good from a leverage perspective this week. And they're all projecting relatively well at the top. Saquon, we didn't even talk about at home against Baltimore. Fournette, Mixon, Dalvin Cook. They're all projecting okay right now. So,
do you think that the Panthers try and give CMC some glory, try and make people pull the trigger on these trade rumors? Do they just feature him and try and get somebody to break the bank to get him? He had 12 targets last week. I think in PJ Walker's big start last year, he targeted McCaffrey 10 times, if I'm not mistaken. Like, this could be a monster McCaffrey game. And just with the fact, kind of like you're saying, nobody's going to pay up for running back. You're getting so contrarian just by being in this price range that, I think there's some validity to experimenting with stuff like CMC.
For sure. CMC at 8,300, prior to 2022, we'd be locking him in, jamming in CMC. Mm-hmm. And his touches have been good, as you could see on the screen. I didn't even actually realize how good his game log has been. Like even like his fantasy points. Like
Yeah.
he's obviously been kind of underwhelming, just because we expect him to be like a 28 point per game player. But 3 weeks with 19 plus on DraftKings, hasn't scored less than 15. Like he's smashing from a redraft perspective, especially this year in the running back pool. He's staying healthy. He's
Yeah.
getting targets.
Yeah.
Like he's everything that you would have hoped for if you drafted him in redraft. Obviously, we haven't been playing him much in DFS, but this is his cheapest price of the year. He's projecting good. I think this is a spot to be in on CMC, especially with some of the Rams struggles, just all around as a team, even on defense.
Yeah. This could be I think there's a world that this could be McCaffrey's last game as a Panther. So maybe he goes out on fire. We'll see.
I kind of like that call. I like CMC.
Yeah.
CMC tournament play at running back this week. He should see a bunch of targets with PJ Walker there, and nobody's going to play CMC. So
Yep. I think you'll get him at 5% for sure.
yeah.
The last guy, I mean, our chat brought it up earlier. Mr. Torian said Brees Hall. I love Brees Hall this week. And to me, he's the perfect play. He's in the right price range that we've been attacking in tournaments all year. And he's just going to get lost in the shuffle of all these other 5K cheap running backs. So he plays early as well, which gives you the information we talked about knowing what chalk, like how chalky you can be with your late stacks. So Brees Hall to me, I mean, I just love playing him this week. He completely erupted for 197 yards from scrimmage last week. Pass game role, I think he's game flow independent, and I just know that he will not be below 6K for very much longer. This, in fact, might be his last week on DraftKings, sub 6K this entire season.
Yeah, and obviously Green Bay kind of over the last few years has had a very suspect rush defense. They're bottom 12 in the NFL as it stands right now in terms of run defense. So this is a spot where Brees Hall could potentially have, his first 100-yard game. He has kind of taken over the majority of the running back touches in the Jets backfield from Michael Carter. He's still a factor, obviously, but Brees Hall, a very talented player, a Jonathan Taylor-esque prospect coming out of the draft this year. I like it at 5,800. He's also a player kind of exceeding expectations, especially mine coming
Yeah.
in to the season from best ball. So 5,800 Brees Hall, definitely a good call. But other than that, I think we've covered a ton of running backs. So
We have there's one more though. I know
one
we're
more,
dragging it. There's one more that we got to talk about. Okay.
Deion Jackson.
Deion Jackson. All right. It was a surprise today when Jonathan Taylor and Naheem Hines were both ruled out. And I think people just have fatigue. Like we've gotten all these cheap value running backs. Nobody even wants to talk about Deion Jackson, but he had 13 attempts last week. He had 4 targets, 4 receptions. Looks like he's going to have a full workload. I mean, Philip Lindsay looked pretty goddamn washed to me for the first half of the game that I watched. I don't know, man. At home against a decent Jacksonville defense, I think a better defense than we expected them to have. But this is still a player who should have a really good workload at a good price tag, and I just don't think the ownership will catch up to any of the other guys. So you can easily just play him into the same sort of builds. Just sub out, Darrell Henderson or Kenneth Walker for Deion Jackson just for ownership's sake, and it's totally reasonable to imagine a world where he outperforms those guys.
No, I definitely like that. For sure. And this is kind of later news.
Yeah.
It's not like super late. I think people will have time to adjust, but will they adjust enough to this news? Probably not in tournaments. If I'm looking right now, his ownership, he's projected right now for less than 1%. I think that probably only gets up to 5% just because it is late in the week. People are out partying right now, getting drunk. They're not worried about fucking Deion Jackson coming into an RB1 role on their Saturday night. Okay.
Dude, if this news came out last Saturday night when we were out, wouldn't have known. Wouldn't have known until
exactly.
like 3:00.
Until 3:00 when he breaks the slate. So he's definitely a contrarian running back that you could play early and get off of the chalk. and then maybe build him into a chalkier game stack, right?
Yep.
So if you want to stack the Bills, instead of playing Darrell Henderson, you play Deion Jackson. Instead of playing Kenneth Walker, you pivot to Deion Jackson, get ownership leverage that way. That's how I would play Deion Jackson, but I think
Yep.
he is a good play this week.
Yep. Definitely. Just wanted to get
Tough
that
matchup.
in.
Tough
Yeah.
matchup. Jags do have a top 6 run defense through the first 5 weeks, but nonetheless, they're at home. And 17 touches last week. I think he's a perfect tournament pivot.
Absolutely. All right, let's talk about the wide receiver position in terms of ownership this week. It's going to be Tyler Lockett week once again. I mean, DraftKings fumbled the bag with this. I have no idea what they were doing. He goes out last week, puts up a 30 spot, and they leave
As
his price
chalk.
the same. Yeah, as chalk. Didn't have him in cash. Luckily, still got there, but he completely snapped his chalk. Now he's going to be chalk again. Same price, same great role. Targets are super consolidated in Seattle between Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. This is a phenomenal matchup in one of the 2 premier games of the week. I don't know, man. They're just price wise. I think that you play him in cash and you kind of don't think twice about it.
Yeah, I mean, he's just underpriced for his role. Arizona has been one of the worst defenses in the NFL this year. Tyler Lockett, 25+% target share. Geno Smith is playing out of his fucking mind. They're at home. You're probably going to get 14 to 17 points out of Tyler Lockett at 5,600. And from a projection standpoint, he's projecting as the best wide receiver value on the board. So I think it's probably bad process if you don't play Tyler Lockett in cash, but in tournaments, I'd be fine, kind of fading a chalk Tyler Lockett this week, and just hope that Geno Smith kind of regresses into what he probably is, and that's a middle of the road quarterback.
Yeah, no, I mean this play makes itself in tournaments. I think that you just don't play Lockett and you play Metcalf if you want to play a Seattle receiver. Because I mean Metcalf will have ownership in his own right, but he's projecting really well. And if Lockett's 30 and Metcalf is 15, you're getting him at half the ownership. I absolutely love doing that in tournaments. So pretty simple to me. Lockett in cash, Metcalf in tournaments. Chris Godwin. I mean, we talked about it for a second. Brady came to the press conference this week wearing a Chris Godwin shirt. That if you needed any more evidence to know that it was going to be Chris Godwin week, that should have been it for you. There was some interesting stats with Godwin earlier in the week that I read. Like he only ran a route on 27 out of 53 dropbacks in this last game, which is slightly concerning, but no Julio once again. I just think that Godwin gets up to more of a full role. I don't think that sample size from last week is going to impact my decision-making. And at 6,100 in this matchup with the way the Bucs are passing, their pass rate's crazy. Like I think Godwin's right there with Lockett in terms of quality of play.
Totally agree. If you're watching, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're 2 away from 450.
Oh, yeah. Come on, guys. Help us out. We're right there, right?
So make sure you subscribe. Oh, I don't know what I'm doing here. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. But Chris Godwin, nonetheless, a very, very good play this week. Obviously concerning that, he only ran 50% of the routes on Tom Brady's dropbacks last week. But it's a good spot. We talked about it with Brady. The Steelers are missing, 3 of their top cornerbacks, Minkah Fitzpatrick, TJ Watt. This is just a spot where Tom Brady is going to go into Pittsburgh and absolutely, unequivocally obliterate the Pittsburgh Steelers tomorrow.
Yeah. Man, I mean, he's stressed in his personal life. This is going to be the ultimate stress relief. Just taking it out on this
100%
fucking talent secondary.
100%. Bob just said CMC traded to the Rams. Is that breaking news? Or is he capping?
I don't know.
I think he's capping. Bob is capping.
Yeah, I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
No, yeah, they're not going to trade him the night before a game. At 10:45 p.m., they're going to trade CMC. to the
Just send
team
them
they're
on the
playing.
plane with their entire
No,
game
they're already
plan.
there. I'm
Yeah.
assuming
Oh
they're
yeah,
already there.
probably.
Just
Oh,
have
you're
them
right.
go into the other locker room. Just be like, here you go. See ya.
Tell them the game plan, bud. Yeah, no. Good one, Bob. Good one.
Yeah, good one. All right. Chris Godwin, smash play. Stephon Diggs,
Yeah,
8,400.
he's going to be right up there in terms of top tier chalk. Going to be super high owned. I don't know, man. We talked about it on the podcast. The thing with Diggs that even just puts this into slight consideration rather than being a stone cold lock is just that the Chiefs have had his number. Like we saw last year when the Bills put up 36 points in that playoff game, that Steph Diggs had 3 catches for 7 yards. And traditionally, the Chiefs have limited him very well since he's been a Buffalo Bill. These teams have faced several times now, and they've just been able to limit Diggs again and again. So, is that a trend that we trust? Because the projections would have you think that Diggs is a phenomenal play. Reason would have you think he's a phenomenal play. Josh Allen's weapon in a shootout game of the week. I think that I'm just trusting my gut here, and I'm trusting the process of the play and playing Steph Diggs regardless of previous results against the Chiefs.
Yeah, I'll bring it up so people can see. And this is what we were talking about.
Yeah.
On the pod here. If I go into this, so this is Stat Muse. You could just look up whatever. Yeah. So against the Chiefs and Steve Spagnuolo, as you can see, this doesn't include the playoff games, but in the 2 regular season games, 2 catches, 69 yards, 6 catches, 46 yards. And then if I look up the playoff game, we'll do that on the screen or off the screen. He had 7 catches in that playoff game that you just mentioned. Like we can't fade Diggs,
No.
because of past results. That be stupid and terrible process, and you should never be making decisions in anything in life based on what happened in the past. In my opinion, I think you take it into account, but it shouldn't be strictly off that. From a projection standpoint, he's a smash.
Yeah.
And the Chiefs are also missing 2 of their top cornerbacks.
Yeah.
If you didn't see that.
I did. Yeah.
So
I'm playing Diggs. I'm playing him. I'm playing him in cash. I'm still going to play him in tournaments. I'm just going to find contrarian ways to do so. Yep. You see the playoff games on the screen, the most recent 3 catches for 7 yards. He had 6 for 77. So just very middling production in all of his recent games against Kansas City. But Joey, I just don't care, man. I just don't care. I'm jamming him. I'm playing him in this game. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, no, I mean, playing him. I kind of want to play Chase over Diggs. So I think we do talk about Jamar Chase. Mr. Torian also brought up Jamar Chase. He's a must play. At 7,700, Jamar Chase is actually projecting as a better value right now than Stephon Diggs.
Interesting.
No T. Higgins. No Marshawn Lattimore. He's projecting as the second best wide receiver value on the entire week 6 slate.
Yeah.
At 7,700, I think this is an eruption spot for Jamar Chase in a dome, going back to New Orleans. They played at LSU together, going back to their college roots in a dome. Perfect setup for Jamar Chase. I don't know. He might be a better play than Diggs.
I think that in tournaments you play him.
He's questionable.
Yeah, Higgins is questionable. He hasn't officially.
I might play Jamar Chase in cash. To be
really
honest.
Over Diggs. Over Diggs.
Both.
Now you're talking my language. I like that. That's interesting. Yeah, Jamar Chase is a phenomenal play this week. Definitely going to have tournament exposure to him.
He's not sneaky anymore, though. We talked about it on Wednesday, specifically you. I went back and listened.
Yeah.
And you said Jamar Chase. Yeah, you were on Chase early. So if you're not listening to the podcast that's coming out early, make sure you go subscribe to the podcast, do all that. It's in the link.
Yeah.
Ben was on it on Wednesday afternoon.
When we talked about that though, Chase was looking like he was going to be 5%. Now he's going to be like 15. So,
20%.
yeah. So like it's not as great of a tournament play as I originally thought. Like I thought you were going to get like a 5x ownership discount compared to Diggs. And now it's looking like they could end up being relatively close. So, slightly, less of a smash in tournaments, but I still am 100% going to be playing Jamar Chase. Don't get it twisted.
He's a great
In terms
play.
of some of the other wide receiver plays that are very interesting, I mean, who stands out to you this week? Rondale Moore is projecting to be one of the chalkiest wide receivers on the slate. That's kind of interesting. I didn't really think that, I personally saw myself going there at 4,200. I know that the role has been increasingly, getting better. We saw Dortch have a lot of success in this role. And when Rondale came back, he kind of earned that slot role right back. Also getting a little bit of use on the ground, although in both consecutive weeks, it has amounted to negative yards rushing. But yeah, this kind of is the reason why I never play Rondale Moore, strictly because of player profilers picture that he is Ant-Man. And I just don't think he's a NFL caliber wide receiver. So I'm good. Good on Rondale. I'm good on Rondale.
Yeah, I mean the role is good. Obviously, we've been kind of a fade Rondale Moore podcast and duo, but at 4,200, like I don't know, you were hyping up Greg Dortch at like the same price. They're pretty much the same player.
No, dude. Dortch
Rondale
is
Moore's
like
just way
34.
more. Rondale Moore's just way more explosive than Greg Dortch and just overall more athletic. So if you're jamming in Greg Dortch, you're probably playing Rondale Moore in cash, and you're comfortable, especially in this game environment. Correlates with Tyler Lockett in tournaments. I mean, if you play Rondale Moore in tournaments, GG.
Yeah. Yeah. No, they're absolutely no
No,
shot. No shot.
no shot on playing Rondale Moore in tournaments. When you have MVS at 4,500, you have Romeo Dobbs at 4,800, you have Devin Duvernay at 4,700, George Pickens even at 4,600. I mean, if you're playing Rondale Moore in tournaments, you're burning money. So don't play into a chalk Rondale. Don't play into a chalk Rondale in tournaments. In cash, I think he's fine. I think he's going to probably see 7 to 8 targets, and he'll get you there at 4,200.
Yeah. Mr. Torian, 4,600 and under wide receiver flex play. I mean, 4,600, Benjamin, without a doubt. I mean, if he's not already in your lineup, it should be that.
Yeah, 4,600. You're playing Eno Benjamin, and then I'd go personally, I'd go Pickens, then MVS over Rondale.
I think I would go MVS for game environment, Pickens second. I mean, out of this whole group, sub 5K, if we're expanding the price a little bit, I think Romeo Doubs is my favorite.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? 4,800 against the Jets. The matchup is good. Christian Watson's out. And I just think that as the year continues to go on, his role will be more and more solidified. And we'll see less fluky things like Randall Cobb getting, 13 fucking targets like we saw last week. Like that shit has to end. And things get spread to the actual playmakers in the offense. So, yeah, I like Dubs quite a bit at 4,800.
You're saying he's not a playmaker?
Yeah, no, I don't think so, man. I don't.
That's crazy.
And then even slightly above that price range, right? We got guys like Isaiah McKenzie, who is going to fly under the radar, fully healthy now at this point. I think that he's super interesting as a low-owned corollary piece to game stacks here, and Juju Smith-Schuster as well for 200 more. Not sexy. We haven't seen it with Juju, but I just want all pieces of this game, and Juju's one way that I plan to do so.
I mean, dude's Mr. Consistent with 8 targets in 4 out of 5 games. You're going to get targets out of Juju.
Mr. Consistently going to give you 14, not even 14 DraftKings points.
I mean, not even going to give you 10.
Yeah, more likely than not.
I mean, that's what we kind of talked about at the top was this Chiefs receiving core does not have a ton of talent. Juju Smith-Schuster is obviously not the player that we thought he was. Maybe we're still trying to buy into or hope that he had some of that year 1 or year 2 juice where he had 1,400 receiving yards, but he's just not that guy. MVS, we just know. I mean, you don't. but everybody else knows that MVS is not a talented wide receiver in the NFL. McCole Hardman.
Yeah, dude, and
Trash.
McCole Hardman has been dealing with some injury stuff if I'm not mistaken. I think that he is okay and he'll play in this game, but his snaps have been coming down in consecutive weeks now, which just leads me to Sky Moore, right? At 3,500 and 1% ownership. Like it's got to happen eventually, dude. His snaps have gone up in consecutive weeks. He played 25 snaps. You know, the Chiefs are looking, Andy Reid's a smart guy. He knows that things aren't working out with this wide receiver core so
You're
far.
playing this goofball.
Yeah, I'm playing this goofball. Yeah.
This
That's my
goofball.
boy. Dude,
No.
he's gonna have a big game at one point this year. Why not tomorrow? Why not tomorrow?
I mean, personally, I'm not playing any Chiefs wide receivers.
None.
I might sprinkle in like MVS because he's cheap. But I think there's just better plays at each of these ranges that they're in. I don't care about the game environment.
So you don't
He's
think
not
that one of these guys goes off when this game combines for like 100 points tomorrow? You're gonna be like, no, I'm good on that.
I don't think this game combines for 100 points.
Okay. All I know is that 82.5 on FanDuel at plus 4,000 is a lock. But
yeah, plus 4,000 stone locked from Ben. I do like Isaiah McKenzie at 5K. I think that he is a solid piece in your Josh Allen doubles, especially if you want to buy into, the fade Diggs narrative. You could run a Gabe Davis, Isaiah McKenzie double with Josh Allen. You could bring it back with Travis Kelce, potentially. We'll talk about tight end here shortly. But other than that, in terms of wide receiver, I think you could definitely get different at the top end. You could pay up to Justin Jefferson, who nobody is going to play. Cooper Kupp, obviously a lock for 25 plus DraftKings points. Jamar Chase, we touched on. Deebo Samuel, I think, is an extremely good play this week against the Falcons. So the way that I want to get different in leverage in tournaments is if I'm stacking up the Bills late, I'm fading Diggs. I'm getting leverage by playing Gabe Davis or Isaiah McKenzie. And then I also get leverage by going to, Justin Jefferson or Deebo Samuel or Jamar Chase over Diggs as well. And those three players are in the early game. So that'll give you some information there as well as to what you can or can't do in terms of swaps for the 4 p.m. games. So
absolutely. Couldn't agree more. That's pretty good. I got Kenneth Walker at 56.5 earlier in the week.
I'm down bad right now. I need one NFL 5-legger to win 200 off 10. Hit us with that can't lose parlay. Let's ride.
I'll send you something in the Discord, Bob.
That shit ain't hit. The only NFL prize picks I have going tomorrow, I have marked this down. Well, there's one line that's still the same, and that's Robert Tonyan over 2.5 catches. I have Saquon Barkley over 3.5 catches. He moved to 4. I have Taysom Hill over 3 fantasy points. That moved to like 4.5 or 5. And then I have Mark Andrews over 5.5 catches. That's my 4-leg power play for tomorrow. Taysom Hill, Saquon Barkley, Robert Tonyan, and Mark fucking Andrews. What a parlay.
I have that Taysom one as well. The others that I like is Darius Slayton over 35.5 receiving yards. I like Josh Allen at 27.5 fantasy points. He's gone over in 4 out of 5 so far. This is the best game he's played in. And Ramondre Stevenson, 16 fantasy points. I mean, come on, dude. His base projection is like 20, and he's probably going for 30. So come on.
Yeah. But join the Discord if you want to keep on talking about price picks, entries, and whatnot. We be firing. I be firing in NHL, especially. NHL is my shit. More so than NFL, to be honest. But
Yeah, I mean, I love firing losing prize picks off every week. It's my favorite thing to do. Some other wide receivers. There's just a couple more I wanted to shout out. Mike Evans is one. I don't know if you just mentioned him briefly, but I think that he's great.
No, I
Sort
didn't.
of in the same vein as DK Metcalf being a great leverage play by paying up for him over Lockett. I think you could say the same thing about Evans paying up for Godwin and getting that ownership discount. He's a great play to me this week. Shit, there was one more that I wanted to mention. Oh, yeah, Joey, my 2% owned GPP play of the week at wide receiver. You ready for this?
Let's hear it.
He's going to be causing you some pain, particularly tomorrow, as he decimates your New England Patriots with no Jonathan. What is his name? Jonathan Jones, Jonathan Jackson, Jonathan Jones. Yeah. Amari Cooper at 5,900. 3 games with 10 plus targets this year. He's sort of been boomer bust. He's got 3 games with 20 plus on DraftKings and then 2 with less than 5. He's fully boomer bust, but I just think that with a depleted New England secondary, that it makes a lot of sense to play Cooper as sort of a one-off corollary piece in lineups that you're playing Ramondre Stevenson. Just bring the cumulative ownership of your Ramondre stuff way down by playing a 2% wide receiver with the chalkiest running back on the slate. It makes a lot of sense to me this week.
Yeah, I don't hate it. Obviously, Jonathan Jones kind of operating as the Patriots cornerback 1 definitely hurts, but they still have Jack Jones, who has been kind of locked down this year, even as a rookie, and Jacoby Brissett, revenge game.
Yeah.
Jacoby Brissett revenge game, but I would lean more so into the Patriots know how to play Jacoby Brissett.
Most likely.
And,
I don't think that they go nuclear by any stretch, but I mean,
if we're being real, it's a Nick Chubb week.
Most likely.
To be honest, but Patriots prediction 4-1 on the season. Patriots win.
Patriots win. Do they cover the spread?
What's the spread?
Patriots spread right now. Let's see. I'm not seeing it. Oh, there it is. It is going to be the
+2.5. We're taking +2.5.
2.5.
No, we're taking money line, underdog money line. Of course.
Taking the money line on Patriots?
Of course. +2.5. Yeah, just give me the money line. What is that? +140, +145, 150, somewhere around there. It's got to be. Maybe +130. Patriots are winning tomorrow. Book it.
All right, you heard it here first. Joey's 4-1 and hits Patriots picks. Let's talk tight end. Joey, interesting week.
Yeah, we
got all the big dogs on the slate.
Yeah, we got all of them. Kelsey, Andrews, Kittle, minus Darren Waller. And we had a debate on the pod about Kelsey versus Andrews. You were on the side of Kelsey. When ownership projections were going to come out, Kelsey would be the guy, blah, blah. I'm like, no, you're off your rocker. As usual, I'm right. Mark Andrews, 7K, was and is the best tight end play on the slate from a projection standpoint. He's projecting as one of the best values across any position. Are you playing Mark Andrews in cash? Are you considering Mark Andrews in cash? I don't know why you're laughing. I think that the train lineup may have Mark Andrews in it.
I hope it does, man. I hope it does.
Mark Andrews is a very good play.
I know he's a good play.
If he was listed as a wide receiver, we'd be jamming him.
Yeah. But I'm not playing a 7K tight end in DraftKings cash. Are you? Are you considering it? Are you going to do it?
I considered it for a minute.
Yeah, 30 seconds. And then I was like, oh, wait, he's a tight end. He's 7K. I'm not playing him. I mean, okay, all jokes aside, he's a great play this week. I mean, projections wise, he's standing out as one of the best plays of any position. The role is just absolutely crazy. Rashad Bateman will be out once again, just further consolidating this unreal role that Mark Andrews has. I think he's a great play, but I don't think that you can get there in cash. Personally, I'm prioritizing, the Allen to Diggs stack. I think I would rather play Jamar Chase even than Mark Andrews personally.
I mean, if we're looking at projections, though, Mark Andrews is a better play than Jamar Chase and Diggs. If we're just strictly looking at the projections, Mark Andrews is a better play than every wide receiver on the slate, especially the top wide receivers. Just in terms of, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that's what the projections are saying.
Yeah. But I mean, sometimes that's kind of where we like, that's what our purpose is. You know, if it was just a projections game, then why are we talking about it? People could just look at the projections and run the optimal every week. And I'm not going to do that, man. I'm not going to play Mark Andrews. I think he's good. I'd play him in tournaments, especially with Lamar Jackson stuff. But I mean, for me, it's pretty clear cut. We're paying down at tight end this week. And in tournaments, like this just strengthens my opinion that Travis Kelce is the pay up tournament play because he's going to be a third of the ownership of Mark Andrews. And just, you know, I mean, I don't know. You might think that I'm overvaluing the game environment. So might some people in the chat. You know, Mr. Torian said that he's not playing anybody from the Bills Chiefs game. I mean, I think that it's just a huge mistake, especially on a slate with, you know, where this 54 total is, you know, 8 points higher than 9 of the other games on this slate. Like it would just be foolish to not play a lot of pieces in this game. And you're getting the highest ceiling Chiefs skill position player at sub 10% here, at a position where he could truly separate, where, you know, yeah, he's not projecting as well as Andrews, but would it shock you if he was the number 1 tight end scorer of the week on DraftKings tomorrow? It shouldn't. So, I mean, I think Kelce is the GOAT play in tournaments this week, and he's got 6 touchdowns over his last 4 games against the Bills. He's had their number, and I think he'll continue to this week.
No, I mean, I definitely love Kelce. It's just at cost, Mark Andrews is a better play. I don't think anybody can really debate that, just because their roles are very similar and you're getting an $800 discount from Kelce to Mark Andrews. Obviously, the game environment is a little bit better, but if we're just looking at the team totals, the Ravens and the Chiefs have the same implied team total, even though it may not seem like that. The Chiefs have a lower implied team total than the Bucks, Packers, and Cardinals. So it's not like they're up there on this slate. I mean, they are.
It's okay for Vegas to be wrong sometimes.
Or maybe you're wrong.
Not likely.
Maybe Vegas, the multi-trillion-dollar business, that sets the most accurate lines possible and has the best algorithms, is more accurate than Benny H from New York.
You think that the multi-trillions outweighs the multi-thousands, the multi-hundreds of Benny H from New York?
Yes.
We'll fucking see tomorrow, dude. We'll see tomorrow.
But nonetheless, they're both great plays, obviously. I think George Kittle is a nice tournament pivot. We obviously know George Kittle has a ton of upside, and we just haven't seen it this year. Some might say he's due for a nice breakout game here. 5,100. Game isn't horrible, I don't think. 45 total as it stands right now. The Niners have a 24.75 implied team total. I don't think it's bad. And I don't think anybody's going to play George Kittle, to be honest.
No, I think Kittle's good in terms of tournaments. Also, Zach Ertz, man. I mean, can you open Zach Ertz game log for a second? This is one of my biggest L's of the offseason in best ball, is I just refuse to take this, man. I don't care if he fell 30 picks past ADP. I wasn't taking this old ass wash dude, but that's my bad, because I mean, he's got 6+ catches in 4 straight. You could just pencil him in. Dude hasn't had less than 10 points in a single game. Like, he's not going to break anything, but it's just the utmost consistency that you're going to get at the tight end position out of Zach Ertz every week.
Yeah, it's just obviously in cash, I'm not playing a mid to high 4K tight end, so I don't think you can go there in cash. And then in GBPs, I'd rather just take a shot on George Kittle.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That does make sense.
You know, in a dome, lower implied team total, but higher ceiling, and just a better player for 200 more. Kyle Pitts, 4,200.
Yeah. No.
Just no?
No.
Just no.
Absolutely not.
How does the chat feel about Kyle Pitts this week?
Yeah, does anybody want to buy back in on it? I mean, come on, bro. This dude could barely crack 4 points.
No cap. If I was out there, I would have scored more fantasy points than him by now.
Yeah, honestly. Yeah, the chat is not feeling Kyle Pitts. Says the fact that you can see 88 78 through 34 tight end without scrolling tells you everything you need to know. Yeah, no, honestly. No bullshit.
Yeah, nah, I'm probably not playing Kyle Pitts this week. Tyler Higbee is interesting once again, kind of a similar role to Zach Ertz.
Truthfully, yeah.
Just consistency. You're getting a $300 discount there, in a good spot for the Rams, who do have one of the higher implied team totals on the slate. They're tied with the Ravens and the Chiefs, 25.75. Gonna go lower. Think it's some value. There is some value out there. Irv Smith, 3,200. Hayden
Mhm.
Hurst, 3,300. I think Hunter Henry at 3,100 is okay. Kate On's kind of out of play with Cameron Brate penciled back in, and then we do have a punt option technically in
Yeah.
Zach Gentry at 2,600. Are you playing Zach Gentry in cash?
I'm thinking about it. It's kind of the last sort of thing that I'm trying to figure out for cash. I've got, 7 spots pretty much solidified in my cash lineup, and I'm just sort of debating what I want to do with tight end and defense. Originally had the Panthers plugged in, but I'm kind of off that. I mean, I think that they could get absolutely washed tomorrow with PJ Walker and just the state of this team. I mean, I don't want to take negative points in my defense, even though I think you can play him at 2,400. I think it might be reasonable to get up to some better defense plays and, maybe Zach Gentry over like an Irv Smith or Hunter Henry or Hayden Hurst type makes sense. He should get some work. Like he played a ton and ran a lot of routes last week after Freiermuth went out. Freiermuth obviously ruled out for this game, and we do expect the Steelers to be trailing at home as they try to keep pace with the Bucs. So I think that he's fine. Also think that he's okay to play as a bring back in Tom Brady doubles.
Yeah, I don't hate Gentry. I don't know if I'm going to go there in cash. I might. You honestly don't really need to
No,
play him.
you don't.
You could fit a Hayden Hurst or Irv Smith pretty easily, but from a value perspective, he's kind of projecting a little bit better than Hurst and Irv Smith. Um, so yeah, I'm interested to see where people go in cash games tomorrow. Maybe people do try and get up to Tyler Higbee or Zach Ertz this week.
So let me ask you a question here. Do you think that it's bad to leave like maybe 5 or 600 in your cash lineup built in for potential late swappability off of some of those chalky running backs if things don't go your way? Because on the surface, like I could find the money to get up to Hurst or Irv Smith off Gentry, but maybe I just play Gentry and leave some extra flexibility in the lineup because there is really nothing that separates them, in my opinion, in terms of being one being a better play than the other, and like Gentry straight up projecting better. So it almost makes sense to me to play him, but then there's nowhere that I want to go with the salary. So it's like I'm either paying up to Irv just to fill out the salary, or I'm playing Gentry and leaving a little bit on the board, for just the sake of potential late swap, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's optimal leaving salary on the table in cash. So I would just try and upgrade defense. But the Panthers D at 2,400 is okay. So it's like you don't necessarily need to upgrade from the Panthers, but you could go to, the Saints against a sack prone Joe Burrow.
I think the Saints and Jags are the two that stand out the most to me.
Yeah,
The
Jags.
Jags have an elite matchup this week against just a terrible offensive line. Matt Ryan's been so mistake prone, and the Jags pass rush has been pretty goddamn lethal, surprisingly, this year. So I think them and the Saints are the two that I like the most.
Yeah, so you could get up to one of those off of the Panthers if you do go the Zach Gentry route. Yeah, I mean, these cheap tight ends are just so horrible.
Are you on board with the Dawson Knox tournament play this week? He really hasn't done it this year, but I mean, I think that this is a great spot for him to do so, to finally find his way into the end zone. He's really easy to stack, and just is going to bring down your ownership on Josh Allen stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Dawson Knox, great tournament play, and really, like, if I'm looking at it, I mean, the only chalk players from this game are going to be Josh Allen and Diggs.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I think
bugging?
I think that Gabe gets steamed to secondary chalk. I think that he'll probably be like 12 to 15% when it's all said and done. But yeah, really, like it's kind of crazy to me how little ownership is going to be in this game.
Yeah, to be honest, I mean, maybe
I'm either going to be dead wrong on this game or I'm going to get fucking rich tomorrow.
Hopefully you get rich. That'd be sick. But I think it's just more so a factor of, at each price point, there's just better plays, even though they're not in this crazy game environment.
Yeah.
But game environment isn't the end all be all. I still weigh opportunity way more than game environment, personally. So, yes. Moving on to defense. I mean, we just kind of talked about it a little bit. We don't have to spend too much time. Panthers, Jags, Saints. I think the Bills D is probably the D that is the highest leverage play on the slate at 2,700. I think that paying up to D is bad. I'm never playing a 4K defense, even though the Rams, I mean, they should score 15 to 20 points in this spot.
Yeah.
Bucks is okay. Other than that, I'm just probably going to like the Bengals, Jags, Saints. I think all look pretty good in this range.
Yep. Totally agree. Nothing else I think needs to be said. Like the Bills, I also like the Dolphins at the same price, 2,700 at home against Kirk Cousins. That could always just go right for you. Playing anybody with Kirk Cousins on the road, like there's always just a world where that's works out really well for you.
Yeah. So, I mean, that pretty much covers it. I say we build a lineup here, a tournament lineup.
Yep. In the chat, Ricky says Olave is not expected to play. Chat seems to find that pretty interesting. What's the status of the other Saints wide receivers right now? What are we looking at with MT and Landry both ruled out? Olave not expected to play. I mean,
this is disgusting.
Wow. I mean, we're not playing Callaway, we're not playing Traquan, but this does make Alvin Kamara a little bit better, I think. And
I mean, Kamara realistically should see like 15 design targets.
Yeah.
But will they give that to him? Probably not.
Kamara's ownership is very reasonable, right?
Yeah, it's nothing crazy. But Michael Thomas out, Olave probably going to be out, Jarvis Landry out, Deontay Hardy, formerly Harris, out. So yeah, Marquez Callaway, Traquan Smith, and Keith Kirkwood, top 3 wide receivers for the Saints tomorrow. I mean, Marquez Callaway is in cash consideration, as ugly as it is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not playing that, but it's such a shame that we can't play the true Saints alpha pass catcher, playmaker in Taysom Hill because he's a quarterback. That's just tough.
5,100. That's galaxy brain as fuck. That, bro, you might get rich playing Taysom Hill at quarterback. 5,100. He was
in the perfect lineup last week.
He's the true winner. That over 3 fantasy score on Prize Picks.
Yeah.
Even before the injuries, disrespectful. Taysom Hill at 5,100 is very interesting. I might run like a lineup in one of the free contests with Taysom Hill at quarterback. They're gonna have to use him, right?
Oh, I mean, what did you say they boosted the line to? Like 4.5? That's still free. I don't care if it got boosted. That's still free.
I could look right now. Prize Picks has so many fucking categories. It's insane. If you're not on Prize Picks, get on Prize Picks. Don't have a code, unfortunately. Taysom Hill, yeah, he's still at 4.5 fantasy score on Prize Picks.
Jesus.
That's the fucking galaxy brain play of the week right there. Taysom Hill.
That's the nuts.
At 5,100.
Yeah, Al in the chat says Taysom Hill 18th round of best ball is going to win somebody 2 mil, 100%.
My last Best Ball Mania 3 team, I took Taysom Hill in the 18th round.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's crazy. All right, let's build a lineup. What do you say? Let's build a lineup
All right,
for the people.
I'll let you start it off. I already know where you're going.
You started off. How about that? You should start it off.
All right. I think that it depends, obviously, on the running backs that we play.
Yeah.
On where we go with our stacks, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think we play Ramondre.
Yes.
At 6K.
Yeah.
So we're already eating into a lot of chalk. So I think Ramondre and if we're looking for an early contrarian pivot, we play Deion Jackson.
Yep, I would say either Deion Jackson or Breece Hall. If you have a strong lean there,
let's put Deion Jackson in for now, just for the salary.
Yep,
and then we'll see.
Okay,
we'll see. We can make that pivot, but
so
I want one of like the contrarian early running backs.
So, do you think that we could start here with a Bills stack at this point if we continue to get contrarian? I think that we can play Bills stuff with, maybe without Diggs, right?
Yeah, I would say no Diggs. I would say no Diggs.
So,
but do you go McKenzie, Dawson Knox, or Gabe Davis, Dawson Knox? I think we play Dawson Knox in this lineup no matter what.
Well, that really limits what we do with our Chiefs bring back unless we're playing 2 tight end.
Dawson Knox, Travis Kelce.
I mean, I'm playing that tomorrow 100%. I'll tell you that, especially in small field. I'm playing that. So if you want to run it here, we can.
No.
I mean,
I don't want to play Kelce either as a bring back in a Josh Allen team.
So would it be like Gabe Dawson or Mackenzie Dawson with like MVS?
Let's do Dawson, touchdown upside. And then we could do one of we either do McKenzie or Gabe Davis.
I think we do Gabe. I think the ceiling is way higher.
Yeah. So Gabe, Dawson Knox, Josh Allen double. And then we could bring it back with Juju or MVS.
I would say MVS between the two. Again, I think the ceiling is higher and the price is better.
Oh my God. This shit ain't hitting.
This shit is looking good.
All right. This shit is not hitting. All right. Defense. Where do you want to go here?
I mean, let's plug. It depends. I would say we either play Saints unless we're going to play Jamar Chase as one of these wide receivers.
I love Jamar Chase this week.
All right. Play Chase. What does that leave us with? 8,500. If we play Amari Cooper, what does that leave us with?
Oh my God. We're not playing Amari Cooper in this lineup, are we?
That's gas, dude. That's gas. And then you play Jets D against the Packers. You don't think that's good?
Bro, this lineup is horrible. You don't have to galaxy brain yourself off the best plays. Amari Cooper, man, I kind of just want to double stack Josh Allen with no bring back.
I don't think that's good. Dude, the Chiefs are going to put up points in this spot. A lot of points.
They are. I love you, but this lineup trash. Yeah, that lineup was dog water.
All right, so what's the solution here? What are we doing?
We need some help from the chat.
Chat, what do we do? What do we do to make this a better lineup? I mean, I think
MVS is a horrible play.
He's a horrible play, really?
I think when you look at the wide receivers that he's around, I guess he's not okay. I guess he's not horrible. That's an exaggeration.
I mean, a way that I'm going to be playing like this specific type of build would probably be like Dubs and Brees as a correlation, and like Kelsey instead of Chase, and then going down. He wants to get different and not play Bills Chiefs and go value with other games. Yeah, but these games, like, dude, how are these games gonna match this game? I just don't see how they will.
Bro, any game, any given Sunday can fail. You need to get that fucking out of your head that this game is not going to fail. It could fail.
What? Why? How?
Because
Of course it can
the
fail, but what is
Chiefs,
the
the
likelihood?
Chiefs are the least talented that they've ever been on offense with Patrick Mahomes under center.
They
Okay.
okay, yeah. No, go ahead.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Emotional spot. Maybe they focus more on defense, like you mentioned on the pod.
Right.
Obviously, will it probably fail? Probably not. But there's a way that this game doesn't go for fucking 85 points like you're predicting. I think you genuinely believe that this game is going to have 80 points.
I genuinely do, and I just wanted to point out that
It's not. It's not. I'm
this
sorry.
talent poor, this least talented Chiefs team that we've ever seen, this
With Patrick Mahomes.
this embarrassing Patrick Mahomes Chiefs offense that you're describing is the number one offense in the NFL, scoring more points per game than the Bills. Just to let you know, at home in Patrick Mahomes' first game ever as an underdog. Like, we're getting Patrick Mahomes in a projected positive game script with the two teams that pass the most over expectation in the NFL, the two best scoring offenses in the NFL. Like, you want to talk about not galaxy braining yourself off the best plays. How about we don't galaxy brain ourselves off the best game in the NFL regular season that we're getting at surprisingly low ownership?
Okay. Now tell me where Juju, MVS, and McCole Hardman rank in terms of wide receiver points on the season this year. Please tell me that. Just because the Chiefs are the number one offense in the league doesn't make their wide receivers better in fantasy.
Well,
They've been horrible.
I'm telling you that Kelsey is the bring back, who's, averaging over 3 full PPR points more than Mark Andrews per
But
game.
Kelsey isn't a better play than Mark Andrews, Jamar Chase, and Diggs. That's what you're not understanding.
I mean, Justin Jefferson and Cooper Kupp aren't better plays than, Steph Diggs either, but you can make them in tournaments because the upside is just as high and you're getting ownership leverage. Like, this is basic DFS.
Yeah.
Like, you don't think you can play Kelsey at a third of the ownership with just as high of a ceiling?
No, I mean, we double with McKenzie.
We double with McKenzie, or yeah, I mean.
But then you're strapped. That's the only thing.
Well, what do we get with defense?
We'd go Saints D.
Yeah, I mean,
put you in Rondale Moore, like Eno Benjamin, and a cheaper wide receiver or something like that.
Yeah, it's like Dubs and Dawson Knox 2 tight end type shit, or something like that, instead of McKenzie.
Yeah, good luck.
We'll see.
Good luck. Those three Chiefs wide receivers have 1 touchdown total.
And it hasn't stopped the Kansas City Chiefs from scoring 31 points per game.
Yeah.
Has it?
Okay. Play MVS and Juju Smith-Schuster tomorrow. You're going to lose money on them. You're going to lose money.
I'm playing Kelsey tomorrow, bro. I'm playing Kelsey tomorrow. I mean, I'll play some Sky Moore.
Oh my God. Yeah, you're going broke tomorrow.
We'll see.
You are going broke tomorrow,
dude. If everybody,
what if that game ends 24-21 or some shit, you are going to be so hurt.
Yeah, but I mean, it's fine. Like, I won't have to worry about taking my L on the podcast because I'll have to sell all my equipment just to pay rent. So either I'm taking a W or you guys are never hearing from me again if this Bills Chiefs game busts.
I can't wait for this game to bust. I just know in my heart that this game is going to bust 100%.
The only way this game busts is if Allen or Mahomes, get their ACL blown out in the first quarter. It's the only way. I'm telling you right now.
Oh shit.
This game is more likely to go over 70 points than it is to go under
54.
50. I'll say that.
Wow. What's the saying? If you what's the saying in terms of expectations? Like you're just leaving yourself room for a ton of disappointment. You have high expectations. They don't meet your standards. You're just going to be super disappointed. It's better to have lower expectations, right? And be impressed.
Yeah, man. I mean, if Geno Smith, Kyler Murray ends up, outperforming Allen Mahomes in the game of the year, then I'll take that L on the chin gladly.
Nah, I mean, I guess my whole point around this game is that this game can go nuclear from a total and betting perspective, but the players in the game in terms of fantasy aren't going to go nuclear. Like we've seen it a ton, especially this season with the Chiefs. You've been spouting this. The Chiefs are the number one offense, but their wide receivers haven't got there. It's really only been Kelsey. So like you are kind of locked in to playing Kelsey, but he's obviously very expensive and you're going to have to find ways to make that work, especially if you're playing Patrick Mahomes. I think the Bill side is a little bit better than the Chiefs side for sure. And I think that's the route a lot of people are going to go, which is the route we kind of went in this lineup with the Bills double and the Kelsey bring back. So you're just going to have to find ways to get contrarian off that.
Yeah, I mean, in the chat, Mr. Torian said something about the running backs, and yeah, I talked about how I think Singletary is a good leverage pivot, even if, it's hard to click his name, but the Chiefs guys as well have had decent games. CEH has 2 games with over 20 points this year, and he's going to come in at like 2% owned. So, I mean, is he somebody that you would consider playing or no, just with the quality of the other running backs this week?
I think he's just too expensive, even at 6,300.
It's just so hard to play him when he's like, priced 1,000 more than Hendo and, almost 1,000 more than Walker and Deion Jackson and all those guys. Like,
and, Benjamin. Like,
Benjamin Stevenson, like it's just so hard to go there.
I mean, 5 touchdowns on the year. I mean, he has been, the guy, the second guy behind Kelsey, to be honest. The wide receivers, in my opinion, are just non-factors. I really don't want to play any Chiefs wide receiver this week.
I mean, true or false, though, just real quick, true or false, do you think that Marquez Valdez-Scantling over 17 games has 2 to 3 games with 20 plus on DraftKings?
I mean, probably.
Could it stand to reason that it's this game when, this is going to be one of the highest total games the Chiefs are involved in all year?
Hey, just because it's a high total game doesn't mean he's going to score fantasy points.
I get it, but I'm just saying
it is still a tough spot from a scheme perspective going up against this Bills D, where a lot of those big plays came from Tyreek Hill making something happen after the catch, not the cornerbacks getting burnt deep down the field. Obviously, MVS has elite level speed, but the man looks like a fucking bozo running a slant route. Like, watch this man run routes. He's not good. Okay?
Yeah.
You really need to get that through your head. And talent matters the most at the wide receiver position.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess.
God.
I guess.
Okay. I mean, he could definitely have a spike week. I mean, he's been, getting better over the last 3 weeks as we've seen. Finally hit double-digit points 5 weeks in.
Yeah, I mean, a touchdown on 6 for 90 and you're there.
Yeah.
You're there.
It's just come red zone time, he's probably like the fifth option. That's the only issue.
It's all right. MVS first 20+ point game of the year tomorrow.
I'll bet money that doesn't happen.
I mean, I need odds then, because that
I'll give you even.
Projection.
I'll give you even.
You'll give me even? Yeah, it's chalked.
I'll give you plus 100.
That's chalked.
Chalked.
Could I get plus 100 on Sky Moore to beat his projection of 5 points?
No.
All right.
I mean, if you play Sky Moore tomorrow, like, just retire.
Oh, I'm playing Sky Moore.
Just retire.
Patrick Mahomes doubles with Sky Moore, Travis Kelce, and that salary will let you get in Diggs and Gabe on the other side. Bang.
Yeah, that 3,500 salary will allow you to fit in 8,400, an 8,200, or 8,000, a 7,800 player, and a 6,500 player.
Yep. Because think about it, with you have no ownership there between Mahomes, Kelce, and Sky Moore. You can eat the Diggs. You can eat the Diggs ownership, eat the Ramondre ownership.
All right. God. Yeah. Let's see if this lineup is even feasible.
Yeah, it's feasible.
I think you're capping. This boy said Gibbs, Diggs, Gabe Davis, Patrick Mahomes, Ramondre Stevenson.
Yeah, put Sky Moore in.
Sky Moore. All right, let's find Sky Moore. Where is he? Okay. You got 3,200 left per player. Where are you going, buddy?
You know Benjamin.
Where are you going? All right, where are you going from here? Zach Gentry, double tight end?
Zach Gentry, Jets D.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck tomorrow. Good luck tomorrow.
No, but I mean, realistically, right? You come off Ramondre and you could get up a little bit from Gentry. Maybe get Darius Slayton in there.
Yeah, it's time to end the stream. If you play Sky Moore tomorrow, you deserve to win all the money.
Fucking right.
If you play Sky Moore tomorrow, you need to retire from DFS.
Hey, I need everybody tomorrow who's watching this chat. We still got 15, 16 people in the chat. When Sky Moore scores his first career touchdown tomorrow, I need you all to tweet me at Ben Hover so I could just fire off a ton of retweets, right in Joey's face. Please.
If Sky Moore scores a touchdown tomorrow, I can't show my face on this stream.
Yeah, this is, oh man, I cannot wait for the Monday recap podcast. We're gonna have a whole Sky Moore segment. It's gonna be a
Sky Moore segment of his 2 for 15-yard game. Yeah, let's have a whole segment dedicated to Sky fucking Moore.
Sky Moore
can't even get on the field.
Plus 600 anytime touchdown scorer.
Good luck.
Put your whole bankroll on it.
Yeah. So everybody's still watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Ben's going broke, so I'm gonna be the only one streaming and making videos over the next 10 weeks. So I hope you guys enjoyed the stream, and this is your last time seeing Benny H, because he's going to be living under the nearest fucking bridge in Rochester, New York.
I'm gonna need some shelter after I lose my home tomorrow, but
yeah, you're not gonna be able to make rent here, and they're gonna kick you out, and then you're gonna have to go live in the abandoned subway in downtown Rochester.
Yeah, so I mean, you guys could catch me down there. I'll be signing autographs as the guy who predicted Sky Moore's first touchdown ever.
Good luck.
All right, guys. That is going to be it for this episode, this stream. Appreciate everybody who's watching live. If you're watching on replay, we appreciate you as well. Drop a like, sub to the channel. Hopefully we hit 450 during the course of this stream. If not, man, help us get there. Joey, that is going to be it for this stream. We'll be back next week. Same time, same place, 10 p.m. Eastern. Until then, hope you guys have a really profitable day tomorrow. and we'll talk to you guys then.